Well, we are going to look at one of the stories of Jesus, and we do have many children here with us. I mean, we are all children in the eyes of God. And so I invite you, the children, you can read it in your children's bulletin. We have printed the whole story there. And if you'd like to follow along in your red pew Bible, you can find it on page 39. We're reading from the Gospel according to Mark, chapter 4, verses 36 to 41, or 35 to 41. And you can read along, or I invite you to use some imagination. Again, we're all children at heart, and so this is an opportunity to become childlike again. Close your eyes and picture this scene. Picture yourself as one of the disciples. What would it look like? What would it feel like? What would it smell like? How would you feel in this story? On that day, when evening had come, Jesus said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion, and they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up, rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Then the wind ceased, and there was a dead calm. He said to them, "Why are you so afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" God, give us ears to hear, eyes to see, and hearts that are open to receive and respond to your word, your message to us this day. All right. Did some of you have a visual? Some of you, right? Now, I know maybe some of you haven't used your imagination like that in a long time, so we're going to help you out a little bit. You heard the story. Maybe you pictured the story. Maybe you read the story. I'm going to ask Miss Taryn to come up, and she's going to invite our children to come, and we are going to reenact this story. All right? We're going to enter into the story as best as we can. The whole congregation. So, Miss Taryn, I'm going to leave it to you to take us on this journey.
Can everybody hear me okay? Off to a good start. Thank you so much. So for anyone that is willing, hello, guys. I need 10 to 12 volunteers. You can decide. Both adults and children are welcome. This is an interactive, whose line is it anyway moment of improvised faith and worship theater. Hello. Good morning. Come on up. Beautiful. Any grown-ups are welcome. We would love you to join us. I promise it will be only fun. No takers. Okay. If you are inspired when you see us mid-action, you can still join us. So I'm going to narrate a little script to you beautiful children, and I'm going to ask our congregation to do me a favor. Can you talk amongst yourselves quietly for 30 to 45 seconds? I'm going to give these guys their assignments. So just pass the piece. Enjoy yourself. I'll tell you when we're all set. Okay, come, let's gather. Come here. Can you come to Jesus? Great. Everybody else, I'm going to give you, I need 2 people to hold a spray bottle of water. It's not Windex, I promise. I'm going to need 2 people to get into the boat. So you guys are on Windex. Can you get into the boat? I need 2 people on the parachute to be water, and you're gonna be sleeping over the side. So one person in the boat, the other person stand and paddle. You guys decide. Okay. Do you want us to do up here or down? Yeah, maybe up. Okay. You're gonna sleep. We'll figure it out real quick. Sure, and then, or no, you paddle. You hold and paddle. I'm going to give you some fabric. So you're going to sleep. Water. Who's on the parachute? So you can be on parachute. Mason, why don't you come? Oh, sorry, buddy. Come sit over here. Why don't you lean against this? Yeah, be safe. Okay. I know that was longer than 45 seconds. You're very kind. Thank you. Okay, perfect. So I'm just going to narrate, and then you brilliant young people just kind of do moment to moment as you hear, and feel free to put your sweet spirit into it and have a lot of fun. You guys ready? Okay. After a long day of teaching, Jesus and his disciples were ready to head back home. So everybody get into the boat, and we're just going to go home. You as well for a moment. You can do that too. So everybody get into the boat, and let's paddle. You can paddle for us, Jack. And wave to our nice congregation like you're going home. Can you guys all wave? Wave to the cameras. Perfect. They got into the boat to sail across the lake, but as soon as they pushed off from shore, a whispering wind, parachute time, wind, billow, grew into a blustering storm. Without warning, huge waves swelled up like mountains, pushing the boat up and down. Jack, can you bob up and down? Good job. He's a lone soldier over there. The disciples were terrified and thought the boat was about to sink. The disciples' fear grew more intense as they realized that the storm was getting bigger. They grabbed onto anything that provided stability. All that was taking place, Jesus was sound asleep at the side of the boat. The disciples forgot that they were in the company of Jesus, who had power of all the elements, even deadly storms. One of the disciples, Kaya. One of the disciples checked in with Jesus and found him asleep, even with the raging storm. Parachute, amazing. Even with the storm wreaking havoc on the boat, Jesus was calm. They needed his help. Teacher, can you say teacher?
Teacher.
Excellent. His disciples shouted in his ear, can you say, don't you care that we're all dying?
Don't you care that we're all dying?
Jesus calmly stood up and looked at the furious storm, and he was not scared. Mason, can you show us that you're not scared? He was not shaken. He didn't even look surprised. Can you show us not surprised on your face? Yeah. Can you say, peace be still, Mason?
Peace be still.
And everything can stop in the storm? He shouted into the raging, blinding blackness of the storm. Then suddenly the growling and snapping of the storm stopped with scarcely another drip of rain. I don't know that we saw the rain. Can we just show a little rain? That's not Windex, by the way. It's only water, I promise. Yes, with scarcely a drop of rain. With shock, they looked around. Can everyone look in shock and look around? The storm has stopped. How is this possible? And looked at the absolute calmness of everything. Jesus had simply spoken and the storm was gone. Can you come forward? Look out at your people. Yes, amazing. The terrifying fear of the storm was replaced by the reassuring fear of Jesus. Who is this that even the wind and sea obey him? They asked in wonder. Kaya, can you say that again because you did that so well before? Who is this?
Who is this?
That even the wind and sea obey him?
That even the wind and sea obey him.
Beautiful. Yet again, Jesus proved to them that he was the Son of God, and their faith grew stronger. Can everyone take a moment, like Pastor Dan had us take a breath? Let's look out here. Let's take a breath. Look, we're breathing in our faith, and we know that it made us stronger. And can you all stand and take a little bow for your congregation? Thank you so much for your help. Fabulous. Amazing. Thank you, parents that did get roped in to help.
Jack Jennings may need a change of clothes after that. He's a little wet, but he was all in. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Taryn. Thank you, children. All right, let me ask you all a question. How many of you have been on a boat? Okay, most of you have been on a boat. Maybe sailing or a power boat or something like that. How many of you have been on a boat at night? Okay, wow, a lot of you have been on a boat at night. It's a little bit different, right? Maybe a little bit scarier. How many of you have been on a boat at night in bad weather? Okay, a lot of you have, all right. Did you ever get seasick? Oh, okay. I'm bringing back horrible memories. I'm so sorry. I have as well. I remember going deep sea fishing with my college roommates many years ago off the coast of Maine. I think it was like 9 or 10 miles off the coast. And let's just say the seas got rough. It was dark. You couldn't see the horizon. And I spent most of my time curled up in the fetal position, praying to God that something that, my friend wasn't Jesus, so he couldn't stop the wind and the waves. What he could do was drive the boat back, which he did not do because the fishing apparently was very good. So I hope that you haven't had a really bad experience on a lake or on an ocean. But if you have, you can understand what the disciples were going through. You can understand this story. The boat was swamped. Now, you got to understand, they were fishermen, most of them. They knew about this lake, also called the sea. But they also knew how quickly it could change. Now, some of you have experienced a Lake Champlain, which can be very calm, and then within a matter of 30 minutes or an hour, it can be extremely choppy, whitecaps everywhere. You think, where did this come from? Some lakes, and this particular lake, we'll talk about this more in a moment, was like that. And the story that we read, the story that our children illustrated for us, says that a great storm just materialized. A great storm just showed up when they were on this boat, and they would have had oars, and it would have been like a sailboat with oars, when they were going to the other side of this lake. Now, the word great, this is a cool word. In the Greek, it's megas. What do you think that sounds like? Mega, right? See, you're all Greek scholars. This is fantastic. A megas storm materialized, and it threatened to sink the boat. Now, these weren't very large boats anyways, and the winds and the waves were coming into the boat, and it was wet. And remember, it's nighttime. They can't see anything. And they were scared. Now, this lake, Lake Gennesaret, also called the Sea of Galilee, many of us have been there last April. We spent a couple of days on the Sea of Galilee. It's not a massive lake. It's a fairly small lake, much smaller than Lake Champlain. But it turns violent very quickly because it's a shallow lake, and because it's shallow, it's prone to violent storms when winds hit it. And when the winds stop, then the storms usually go away. The mountains west of the lake, they form a funnel for prevailing winds that blow in from the Mediterranean over the lake. And many fishermen and many boaters have learned this to their dismay, to their peril. They have learned how quickly that can change. And maybe that's exactly what happened that one day when Jesus was napping in the boat with some of his disciples. Now, they woke him because it was getting dangerous. Now, I want everyone to say, everyone here, one of the phrases. It can be one other phrase. I'm going to want everyone to say it together. And this is what they said. Do you not care? So I want to hear everyone say, do you not care? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Do you not care? Right. Do you not care, Jesus? We're going to drown is really what they thought. It was a scary moment. Jesus, what is he doing? Not much. He's asleep. He's taking a nap in the stern of the boat, which is normally where you would steer the boats. But he's not steering anything. He's napping. Disciples are afraid. Now, the word here, you'll like this one too, the Greek word for fear is phobos. What does that sound like? Phobia, right? They had great megas phobos, mega fear. Phobias, well, we all have some of those. And so they cry out. And they're a little bit upset, I think. It's a cry of doubt, like, don't you care for us, right? It's maybe a cry of feeling abandoned, like all is lost, and yes, you're here, but not really here with us. You're not doing anything to help us. Maybe they thought, where is God when I need help the most? Has God left us? It's a cry that is repeated in so many ways in the midst of some terrors and distresses in our world today. Perhaps even you, at some point, have cried out that prayer. Do you not care? Where are you when I need you the most? Perhaps the disciples, and there are people today that think if God is so great and powerful a creator, if God really cares about this world, then why do events in this world and in my life go so badly? And I think at times we all may have those questions and those fears. And so the disciples then cry out, "We are perishing." Let's hear it. Now, they really actually believe they were about to die. Hopefully, many of you have never been in exactly that situation. But I would guess that you have felt like that sometimes. I'm overwhelmed. My life is being swamped. Water is coming in. I'm perishing. I'm dying here. It's an honest appraisal of the situation, certainly for the disciples, and at times even in our lives. And this parable relates to us. Situation that we can all at times experience when we feel cast adrift in the storms of this world, as if we are without God's presence and God's care. And so the disciples crying out is really a prayer for deliverance. It's a prayer of rescue. But here's the good news. What does this story teach us about Jesus? Well, he heard the prayer. He heard their cry. He did something. He woke up. He woke up. Directly answered their cry for help and their prayers. As we saw in young Mason, Jesus rebuked the winds by just speaking. Be silent. Be still. And the response of the wind was immediate. Silence. Stillness. And then we read that after the wind ceased, there arose a megas calm. Now, our version says a dead calm, but really it's the same word. A great calm. So moments ago, there was a megas fear. There was a megas storm, right? Great storm. Megas fear, great fear. And now, in the presence of Jesus, there is a megas, great calm. And because of that, the disciples were wowed. They were in awe. Another word, megas, shows up. Their response was great awe. Wow. First of all, awe that they were saved, I am sure. They were rescued. They were delivered. But then who is this? Because that doesn't happen often. That somebody has the power of God to not only control nature, but to bring a great peace and calm and stillness in your lives when you need it the most, and maybe when you think it's not going to come. who is this who can do that in my life and in my heart with just speaking words? See, this story, I think we can all relate to the disciples. We are called disciples of Jesus, followers of Christ. We can continue to live in a world of fear, of phobias, even a world of chaos, which is what the sea represented back then. It was chaos. Seeing ourselves alone in life and without the power and the help of God. Or we can be open to hearing the message and the promise of Jesus, who preached that the kingdom of God has come into our lives. The kingdom of God is here and now. And Jesus offers a whole new future for us, for our world, a whole new way of seeing things. And that no matter what storms we are going through in life, and let's be honest, we all go through different storms in life. This is the good news, that Jesus is always in the boat with us. Even if it didn't feel like that for a moment, Jesus is in the boat with us. Jesus is riding in those storms, riding through those storms with us. And Jesus does have the ability to certainly, if not to silence the storms in your life, to bring you peace, to bring you a sense of calm that will help you get to the other side of the lake. So friends, I want you to hear Jesus' words to you this day. Peace, be still. And know that Jesus promises to carry us safely through the night. He will rescue us. We are his disciples. We are his friends. We are his children. To conclude this message, I've asked Chris, our Director of Youth Ministries, and Taryn, our Director of Children's Ministries, to come and offer a very special song that has been very special to me. It's by a contemporary artist named Lauren Daigle, and the song is called Rescue. And I invite you to hear these words and let God's Spirit speak these words into your hearts and into your lives this morning. Taryn, Chris?
You are not hidden. There's never been a moment you were forgotten. You are not hopeless. Though you have been broken, your innocence stolen, I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. There is no distance that cannot be covered over and over. You're not defenseless. I'll be your shelter, I'll be your armor. I hear you whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest fight. It's true, I will rescue you. I hear the whisper underneath your breath. I hear you whisper you have nothing left. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest the fight. It's true, I will rescue you. Oh, I will rescue you.
Thank you, Taryn and Chris, for that beautiful song. May those words continue to inspire us, remind us of God's promises. God does rescue us. And God, I believe, hears the cries of those who are in need in our world. And we've been so fortunate over these past few years that God has blessed us in tremendous ways as a congregation, so that we can be a blessing to others, so we can be a force for good, so we can hear the cries of other people who are in need, maybe even crying out to God for deliverance, for rescue, for hope, for healing, and say, we are here. God, send us.